I have got a great video lined up for you today. Sometimes I have to actually wonder to myself, does the mainstream media know that they're spewing propaganda, or do they actually believe it? Okay, and that's exactly what we're going to see today with Rachel Maddow blatantly lying about a press conference given by Florida Sheriff Wayne Ivey. And then make sure you stick around after that, because I have a great clip of Jim Acosta showing how out of touch he actually is. But before we begin, don't forget to like and comment on this video so we can break through the algorithms. Here we go.
I'm gonna break it down for you, all right? And if somebody wants to know what I mean by turn violent, all right, this is what I mean. If you resist lawful orders, you're going to jail. Let me be very clear about that. If you block an intersection or a roadway in Brevard County, you are going to jail. If you flee arrest, you're going to go to jail tired, because we are going to run you down and put you in jail. If you try to mob rule a car in Brevard County, gathering around it, refusing to let the driver leave, in our county, you're most likely going to get run over and dragged across the street. If you spit on us, you're going to the hospital and in jail. If you hit one of us, you're going to the hospital and jail, and most likely get bitten by one of our big, beautiful dogs that we have here. If you throw a brick, a firebomb, or point a gun at one of our deputies, we will be notifying your family where to collect your remains at, because we will kill you graveyard dead. We're not going to play. This has got to stop. You're watching what's taking place out there. You're seeing police officers that are being attacked, being spit on, being put in harm's way just for doing their jobs.
You might have seen headlines last week about the Brevard County, Florida sheriff last week, who called a press conference to threaten that he would sick dogs on people, and his officers would not just put people in jail, they would put people in the hospital. He literally got up at a press conference and said, "We will kill you," talking about violence he expected at any anti-Trump protests in Brevard County, Florida. After that bizarre show of intimidation from that sheriff in Brevard County, Florida, turns out people in Brevard County, Florida were not at all intimidated by what he said, as you can see from local headlines like this one. Quote, "No kings, anti-Trump protests draw thousands in Brevard County in Cocoa and Palm Bay." I mean, the sheriff gets out there and says, "We will kill you." And Brevard County, Florida is like, you know what? We got a right to protest. We have a right to make protest signs of any kind, including ones that show Donald Trump in a big wig made up like Marie Antoinette, saying, "Let them eat cake." And you are not going to stop us from doing it. We are Americans. We have the right to do this. We will protest.
Yes, that's Rachel Maddow willfully misleading her audience, okay? You have this press conference from Florida Sheriff Wayne Ivey, and he's saying, hey, notice how all of these protests, right, across the country are pretty violent, right? And the police are actually being attacked. If you try that garbage here in Florida, you have a wake-up call coming towards you, right? These are the things that are going to happen if you do not have a peaceful protest, if you do not use your right to peaceably assemble in the correct way. But Rachel Maddow says, oh, he's threatening protesters just for showing up against Donald Trump. And then she says, oh, notice how they arrived and peacefully protested and nothing happened to them? Because notice how they're not blocking the streets, right? They're not attacking police officers. They're not doing anything unruly. They're just exercising their freedom of speech, their right to protest as American citizens. And guess what? Nothing happened to them. Right? You didn't have to have the police come in and arrest people. You didn't have to have the National Guard or Marines called in because the police were refusing to do their jobs. Notice how everything lines up when you simply follow the law. But according to Rachel Maddow, oh, this guy was way off the deep end, when as a matter of fact, he's saying, hey, here's the laws we will be enforcing. When as a matter of fact, he was just being crystal clear as to what the consequences would be for actually breaking the law. Okay, but I don't expect Rachel Maddow to try to deliver the truth. I expect her to deliver nothing but spin to her rabid leftist audience over there at MSNBC. But of course, what else do you expect, right? The mainstream media, the far left, the Democrats, they've all lost touch with America. They live in their own bubbles and don't seem to realize that the messages they're putting out do not fly with mainstream America, as we're going to see here by Jim Acosta, of all people.
I mean, I do think that, you know, in my lifetime, I mean, I grew up in Virginia. I went to school at James Madison, not too far from here. And I remember some of the first talk radio I ever heard in my life was Rush Limbaugh. And, to me, it seems over the last generation or so, the far right in this country has kind of figured out a way to infiltrate, the heartland and to, basically pull, mom and pop from the farm to their point of view. And as it turns out, a lot of those folks vote in these elections. And a lot of those folks have been completely led astray. I hate to say it, but they've just been completely led astray. And we've all just let this happen on our watch with essentially a business model for delivering the news in this country that just does not work anymore. But the way we deliver information to people in this country has to change. And one of the things that I think we should see in this country is sort of a departure from corporations running these big news organizations, and I think a real investment made in public broadcasting. I'd love to see PBS and NPR sort of be too big to fail in this country and sort of be like the BBC or be like what we see with Canadian broadcasting. I think that if you could see Democrats, progressives, folks in the center, maybe center-right, make those sorts of investments down the road, you can, I think, protect the way people receive information in this country. Because right now, folks are just, you live in the heartland, you live in certain parts of the country where your NPR station might be under attack, your PBS station's getting underfunded, or your broadcast stations are being threatened by the White House. Where the hell do they get information in this country right now? I mean, this whole thing needs to be rebuilt, in my estimation, and it has to be done quickly because a lot of folks are just being left to the sort of Joe Rogans and, Fox News and the other folks on the far right, and what they control right now in terms of their media presence. And we forget the old days where people would describe the liberal media and so on. In many ways, it is a media that is in large part under the influence of the right in this country because of the way Trump has his thumb on these corporations and the way public broadcasting has been sort of taken apart.
So somehow Donald Trump and the right-wing media have figured out a way to totally brainwash middle America, right? The people in flyover country, the farmers, the hard workers out there that the left on both coasts have ignored and disdained and made fun of for years. Somehow the messages of socialism, wokeness, DEI, gender diversity, that didn't sink into these people in the Midwest who actually go out there and work for a living, right? Do manual labor, physical labor, right? Feed the entire nation. It's just not sinking in how awesome the left's radical ideas actually are, right? But that's something these leftists don't understand. When you're out there living a life where you don't work, you don't produce, and you don't get paid, that really flies in the face of, open borders and free stuff for everybody, okay? It's not reality. And the people in the middle of this country see it as clear as day. But of course, what's the solution that Jim Acosta has for all this misinformation being given out there to middle America? It's more government-funded television. We got to have something like the BBC or the CBC. We got to have this robust propaganda machine from the government, okay? How would that stack up right now for you, Jim Acosta? What if Donald Trump was actually in control of the broadcast corporations, right? What do you think you'd call that, okay? It's not a good idea, okay? So that's all they really want is state-run television 24/7 so they can control the narrative, or at least what they see to be as truth to be given to the American people, which of course is not going to fly in the land of the free and the home of the brave. So thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe, and say hi to your mom for me. Do you like t-shirts? Of course you do. And now you can support the channel by buying an Angry Teacher t-shirt designed by me, Angry Teacher. So if you like America, if you like freedom, if you like liberty, then go ahead and click the link in the description where all designs, of course, are 100% mother approved. So enjoy yourself and find something you like today.